John Blake presents A History of Treason, written by the National Archives and read by Charles Armstrong. A note on the dating of the Treason Act. The Treason Act is often described by legal commentators as the 1351 Treason Act, as a consequence of the medieval method of reckoning the beginning of the year as the 25th of March. The Act was passed in the 25th regnal year of Edward III, which ran from the 25th of January 1351 to the 24th of January 1352. The Treason Act was passed in the Parliament that met at the end of this period and can therefore be dated historically as January 1352. To the medieval mind, however, it would have been considered to be the final months of the year 1351. Lawyers and legally focused works use the old-style date of 1351, which is why the Treason Act appears as such on legislation.gov and in other legal works. Historians, however, normally use the new-style dating, silently correcting dates to match modern understanding, and to ensure historical accuracy. Most modern historians therefore use 1352 as the historically accurate date of the Treason Act. Dates have been silently modernized throughout this book. Forward by Diarmid MacCulloch. The words traitor and treason are emotive words, familiar to us. They came into English from Latin traditor via Norman French. This is what one might expect from legal concepts that are the special prerogative of the medieval monarchy created by the Norman conquerors of England. That was a normal linguistic route for many words that shape our understanding of English politics. It all looks quite straightforward until you spot that the classical Latin word traditor was not the word that an ancient Roman would have used for the sort of person who betrayed the emperor or the Roman res publica. He or she was a proditor. A traditor is in origin simply someone who hands over something, and actually the allied noun traditio leads the inquisitive not towards treason but tradition, which doesn't sound at all the same sort of animal. How have we got to where we are then when we speak of traitors and treasons? The explanation is quite specific, pulling us back to a particular historic era. The Roman Empire suffered a general crisis of religion in the 3rd century CE, when successive emperors sought to stem the growth of an alarming new faith in various parts of their Mediterranean dominions, Christianity. They came to fear Christian worship of a God who brooked no rivals and who marshalled his claims in sacred texts which Christians called their Bible. Trajan Decius, an energetic senator and provincial governor who seized power as emperor in 249, attributed the empire's obvious troubles on the morrow of its 1000th year squarely to the anger of the old gods that their sacrifices were being neglected. Decius therefore enforced these traditional sacrifices on every head of a household in the name of all its members, a radical intensification of the custom that communities were ordered to offer sacrifices on an imperial accession. It was obvious that the group most systematically avoiding sacrifices in the empire were the Christians, who now faced a crisis of morale amid unprecedented official pressure. Not only Decius, but a successor Valerian, and later in the century Diocletian, pushed punishment for refusal as far as imprisonment or execution. Some Christians did indeed die as martyrs for refusing to sacrifice. Some who did not end up executed were nevertheless courageous enough to affirm their refusal in court. Hence, in later Christian celebration of their heroism, they are known by the technical Roman legal term for those pleading guilty, confessors. Nevertheless, the reality behind Christian martyr stories is that the overwhelming majority of Christians gave way. One compromise that would save them a martyr's death or a confessor's suffering was to surrender to the Roman authorities the Holy Scriptures and liturgical texts that governed their own Christian sacrifices in worship. These handers-over were the original traditores. They were traitors, one notices, not to the government, but to their own Christian faith and church. Of course, now the wheel has gone full circle in popular usage. We often speak of